In this video, we're just going to get some practice finding the difference data set when we're working with paired data and finding the mean and the standard deviation of that difference data set. So we've got a very simplified data set from what we were looking at last time. It's only 4 different students' reading scores and their writing scores. And I want to find the difference data set for this table below and then find the mean and the standard deviation of that difference data set. And the thing we're going to keep in mind here is we want to use the reading score minus the writing score. So we're going to be subtracting reading minus writing. This is helpful to know because last time when we set up our null and alternative hypothesis, we set up mu sub d to be mu sub r minus mu sub w, meaning the mean of the reading scores minus the mean of the writing scores. So, okay, we know what the order of subtraction is going to be. Let's actually go and find this difference data set. So the first thing that we need to do is we're just going to enter in the reading scores and the writing scores. We're going to use our graphing calculator to help us out. This is something you could do by hand, but it ends up being pretty tedious, so I wouldn't recommend it. So I'm going to hop on over to my graphing calculator here, which is right here. Oops, apologize for the ad. I'm going to start by entering my data set. So the way that we do that, we're going to go press stat and we're going to just choose number 1, edit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter all of my reading scores into one of these lists. Let's do L1. And then I'm going to enter all of my writing scores into L2. So my reading scores, we had 57 and 44 and 47 and 63. So those are my reading scores. For my writing scores, I'm going to arrow over. My writing scores were 52 and 33 and what else? 52 and 65. So those are our reading scores and our writing scores exactly as we saw them in the table. Now, if I want to find the mean and the standard deviation of this difference data set, I'm actually going to hop back to my data set. I would be taking for each one of these 57 minus 52, and I would find out what that value is. 44 minus 33, and I would figure out what that value is, and so on and so forth for all of these different data types. Now, in this case right here, you could do that for each and every data value, but again, who's got the time? I want to speed this process up. Turns out I'm going to use my graphing calculator to help me find the mean and the standard deviation anyway. So the way that I'm going to find this difference data set is I'm going to arrow over to a third list. I'm going to choose L3 for this right here. And instead of entering this data in by hand, I'm going to let the calculator do it for me. So the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to arrow up to the top. Oops. I'm going to arrow up to the top for L3, and I want to tell the calculator I want all of the reading scores minus all of the writing scores. The reading scores were in L1, so I want all of the scores from L1 minus L2. So I'm going to press second and then the number 1 minus second and then the number 2. And what this is going to do is it's going to subtract each and every one of these data values just straight across. So for my first entry, just to check my own work, I should see 57 minus 52. I should end up with 5. And there it is right there is a positive 5. And you can see all of the other scores. You can double check those if you want. So the thing that we're going to have to keep in mind, and we're going to have to remember in just a moment, is that our difference data set is now in L3. That's going to matter for us here in just a moment. So we've got our data set in L3. So next, I've got my difference data set. That's great. But oftentimes I'm going to need the mean and the standard deviation in order to do things like find the standard error, the test statistic, the p-value, so on and so forth. So I need to find the mean and the standard deviation. The way that we do that is we press stat and then we arrow over to the right so that we're under calc. We're going to choose that very first option, 1var stats, and press enter. The thing we have to keep in mind here is we need to tell the calculator to look at L3 because that was where our difference data set was. So make sure that you change this list from the default is L1. You can clear that out and then press second and then the number 3. You see that blue L3. You can leave the other entry, the frequency list, blank. That part doesn't really matter, and just go down to calculate. If you have an older graphing calculator model, it'll say 1var stats and it'll have a blinking cursor at the end. You just need to enter in L3. So just press second and then the number 3 and then press enter. You should see the exact same screen that I'm about to see right here. So I see right here my mean, that X bar at the top is 2.25, and then my sample standard deviation is 7.18. So that's everything that I need. I need the mean, X bar, and the sample standard deviation of S. So I'm just going to go back and make a quick note here. X bar for this. So X bar, the mean of the differences, and I always like to write that little subscript of D to remember, oh, we're working with differences. So we said that was 2.25, and then the standard deviation of the differences, I have to go back and check here, was, we said 7.18. We're looking at S, so 7.18. Oops. 7.18. So this is going to be a really important step in